Have you ever been told you have a beautiful heart, a giving spirit, that your kindness is a light in this world? Have you ever smiled while receiving that praise, even as a voice deep inside you whispered, "If they only knew that this light they admire feels like it's burning me alive from the inside out"? What if the very thing everyone loves about you, your boundless capacity to give, to nurture, to understand, is the same thing that is quietly, methodically erasing you? This is the shadow of kindness, the sacred and devastating paradox where your love for another becomes a profound and silent betrayal of yourself. It begins not with a bang, but with a whisper, a simple yes, when your soul was screaming no. It's the slow, subtle erosion of your own sacred ground, until one day you wake up and realize you are a guest in the home of your own life, a life you so generously handed over to another. You have become a ghost in the architecture of a relationship you built with your own hands, and you are haunted by the one person you forgot to save, yourself. Stay with me, because today we are not just going to talk about this shadow. We are going to walk into it. We are going to reclaim the parts of you that you have given away for free, and we are going to learn how the most powerful love story you will ever live is the one where you finally come back home to you. This is more than just a story about being too nice. This is a journey into the heart of our deepest wounds around love, worthiness, and the courage to be seen. It's a path of spiritual psychology love, a deep dive into the emotional alchemy required to turn the lead of self-abandonment into the gold of authentic connection. So many of us, especially those with empathic hearts, walk this earth believing that our value is directly proportional to our utility in someone else's life. We become the fixer, the healer, the supporter, the cheerleader, the emotional caretaker. We learn to read the energy of a room, to anticipate needs before they are spoken, to smooth over conflict before it can erupt. We become masters of accommodation, experts in the art of making ourselves smaller so that another may feel bigger. We wear our kindness as a badge of honor, a shield that we believe makes us good, makes us worthy of love. But what happens when the shield becomes a cage? What happens when our giving is no longer a conscious choice, a gift from a full cup, but a desperate, compulsive act, a transaction to secure our place in someone's life? This is the precipice where kindness curdles into self-betrayal. It's a silent, lonely crisis of the soul. On the outside, your life may look perfect. People admire your relationship. They say you are the perfect partner, so patient, so understanding. They don't see the silent bargains you've made. They don't feel the slow hollowing out of your spirit with every need you suppress, every opinion you swallow, every dream you defer. They don't see that your smile has become a mask to hide a profound and growing exhaustion. You might even be hiding it from yourself. You tell yourself this is what love is. This is sacrifice. This is devotion. But the hash energy of love is not the energy of depletion. A true sacred connection does not demand your self-annihilation. It is a dance of two whole souls, not one soul desperately trying to fill the emptiness of another. Let me introduce you to a woman we will call Ilara. Her story may feel achingly familiar to you. Ilara was an artist, not by profession but by soul. Her hands were always covered in paint, charcoal, or clay. Her apartment was a chaotic sanctuary of canvases and half-finished sculptures. Her laughter was loud and uninhibited, a reflection of the vibrant, untamed energy that flowed through her. When she loved with the same fierce, creative passion. When she met Liam, it felt like the final, perfect color being added to her palette. He was captivated by her light, her passion, her seemingly endless well of warmth and affection. He called her his muse, his anchor, his everything. And Ilara, who had always carried a quiet, unexamined wound of feeling like she was too much, finally felt seen, cherished, and safe. In the beginning, her giving was a joy. She would cook him elaborate meals, listen for hours as he spoke of his dreams and frustrations, and instinctively know how to soothe him after a hard day. She poured her creative energy into their home, into their life, into him. It felt beautiful. It felt like love. But slowly, imperceptibly, the dynamic began to shift. Her art supplies began to gather dust. Her studio corner became a storage space for his things. Her loud, uninhibited laughter became softer, more measured, tailored to his moods. Her yes became automatic. Can you pick up my dry cleaning? Yes. Can you cancel your plans? My friends are coming over. Yes. Can you read over this report for me? You're so much better at these things. Yes. 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 Each yes was a small, seemingly insignificant stone laid on her own chest until the weight became so immense she forgot what it felt like to breathe freely. She wasn't being forced. Liam was not a monster. He was just comfortable. He had grown accustomed to the effortless flow of her energy into his life. He didn't notice that the well he was drinking from was not infinite. He didn't notice that the light in her eyes was dimming because she was always so careful to shine it on him. Alara had become the caretaker of his reality, and in doing so had completely abandoned her own. The self-betrayal was this. She was so terrified of losing him, of being too much again, that she preemptively amputated the parts of herself that she feared he couldn't love. Her messiness, her intensity, her needs, her art. She handed him a curated, edited, more convenient version of herself, and then felt a soul-deep loneliness when he loved that stranger instead of the real her. Have you ever done that? Have you ever presented a more palatable version of yourself to a partner, a friend, or a family member, hoping they will love the mask, all while your true self is starving for air behind it? This is the first step in the shadow dance of kindness. It's the belief that our authentic self is fundamentally unlovable, and that we must perform, perfect, and provide in order to earn our keep. This is where we begin our self-worth healing journey. By recognizing that the performance is not love, it is a survival strategy, and the exhaustion you feel is your soul's desperate cry for the performance to end. The turning point for Alara came on a Tuesday afternoon. It was raining. She was cleaning out a closet, a task she had been putting off for months, when she found an old portfolio. Inside were charcoal sketches from before she had met Liam. They were raw, powerful, and full of a wild, untamed energy. There was a self-portrait. In it, her eyes were fierce, challenging, alive with a fire she barely recognized. She stared at this stranger on the paper, this woman who was her, and she felt a grief so profound it buckled her knees. She sank to the floor, surrounded by the ghosts of a life she had forgotten was hers, and she wept. She wasn't just weeping for the lost art. She was weeping for the lost woman, the woman who took up space, the woman who had needs and desires and a voice that wasn't just an echo of someone else's. The tears were not just sadness, they were a cleansing. They were the first drops of rain on a parched and forgotten inner landscape. It was in that moment of rock-bottom clarity that her awakened heart began to beat again, faintly at first, but with a rhythm that was all its own. This moment of collapse is often the beginning of true transformation. It's the point where the pain of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of change. It's the soul's intervention. For anyone listening who feels that deep, resonant ache of self-loss, know this: that grief is sacred. That emptiness is not a void to be feared, but a space waiting to be reclaimed. This is the starting line of your spiritual growth journey. It is the moment you stop looking outside for a love that can save you, and you turn inward to find the love that was always there, waiting for you to come home. The first step on this journey back to self is a radical act of courage, the willingness to feel. For years, Alara had been an expert at emotional management. She managed Liam's moods, soothed his anxieties, and absorbed his stress. By extension, she had learned to meticulously manage her own feelings. Resentment, anger, frustration. These were negative emotions, disruptive to the harmony she worked so hard to maintain. So she suppressed them. She told herself she was being patient, being understanding, being the bigger person. But what she was really doing was storing poison in her own system. This is a critical misunderstanding we have in our culture. We label emotions as good or bad. Love, joy, and peace are good. Anger, sadness, and fear are bad. But in the realm of spiritual psychology, love, all emotions are sacred messengers. They are energy in motion. They are the guidance system of the soul. Your anger is not your enemy. It is your most loyal protector. It is the part of you that rises up and says, a boundary has been crossed. An injustice has occurred. Your sacred space has been violated. To deny your anger is to silence your own guardian. Your sadness is not a weakness. It is a testament to what you have loved and lost, a cleansing rain that washes the heart clean and makes space for new growth. Your fear is not a sign that you should stop. It is a sign that you are standing at the edge of your comfort zone, at the precipice of a great expansion. Alara's journey of emotional alchemy began with the simmering resentment she felt every time Liam would casually interrupt her while she was speaking or make plans for both of them without consulting her. For years, she would swallow it. A tight feeling in her chest, a clenching in her jaw, a little voice saying, "It's not a big deal, don't make waves." But now, instead of pushing it down, she got curious. She would go into a quiet room, close her eyes, and just feel the resentment. Where did it live in her body? It was a hot, tight coil in her stomach. What was its message? She listened, truly listened for the first time. The resentment wasn't just about the interruptions. It was the voice of her silenced self. It whispered, "I have a voice. I have an opinion, I matter. And you are letting him treat me like I don't." This is the practice of healing through awareness. It is not about acting out on the anger or dumping the resentment onto your partner. It is about honoring the emotion within yourself first. It is about giving yourself the validation you have been desperately seeking from the outside. You sit with the anger and you say to it, "I see you. I hear you. Thank you for trying to protect me. I understand why you are here." In that moment of compassionate witnessing, something magical happens. The emotion begins to soften. Its grip loosens. It has delivered its message and it has been received. You are no longer fighting your own energy. You are working with it. So here is the practical application for you. The next time you feel that familiar pang of resentment, that flash of anger, or that wave of sadness that you would normally push away, try this. Find 5 minutes of solitude. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths, and on the exhale, allow the feeling to be there without judgment. Don't try to fix it or understand it logically. Just feel it as a physical sensation in your body. Is it hot or cold, sharp or dull, moving or stagnant? Then ask it a simple question. What is the one thing you need me to know right now? And then just listen. Don't search for an answer. Let it arise. The wisdom that comes from your own body, from your own suppressed emotions, will be more profound than any advice you could ever receive. This is the beginning of rebuilding self-trust. It is the process of learning to listen to the whisper of your soul before it has to become a scream. As Alara began to listen to her inner world, she realized how disconnected she had been from her own feminine energy. This is not about gender. This is about the archetypal energies that exist within all of us. The divine masculine-feminine balance is crucial for a healthy, conscious life. The divine feminine is the energy of being, of receiving, of intuition, of creativity, of flow, of nurturing from a place of abundance. The divine masculine is the energy of doing, of giving, of logic, of structure, of protection, of action in the world. A healthy individual and a healthy relationship has a dynamic balance of both. Alara's problem, and the problem for so many chronic overgivers, was that she was operating almost entirely from a wounded masculine energy. She was always doing, giving, fixing, providing. She was trying to build a structure of love and security through sheer effort. She had forgotten how to simply be. She had forgotten how to receive. Receiving is a deeply feminine art. It is the ability to open, to allow, to accept love, help, and support without feeling the need to immediately earn it or pay it back. For Alara, receiving felt dangerous. It made her feel vulnerable, indebted. Her worth was tied to her giving, so to simply receive felt like she was failing at her job. When Liam would offer a compliment, she would deflect it. "Oh, this old thing." When he tried to help in the kitchen, she would say, "Don't worry, I've got it." She was so conditioned to be the source of energy that she was blocking any energy from flowing back to her. This created a massive imbalance. She was pouring out from a cup that was never being refilled, and then wondering why she was always so empty. The journey to reclaim her divine feminine was not about becoming passive. It was about recognizing that her receptivity was a superpower. It began with small, conscious acts. When someone offered her a compliment, she would pause, take a breath, make eye contact, and simply say, "Thank you. I received that." It felt incredibly awkward at first, but with each conscious act of receiving, she was rewiring her nervous system. She was teaching herself on a cellular level that it was safe to be given to, that she was worthy of support. She started scheduling being time into her day. No tasks, no goals, no productivity. Just time to sit in the sun, to listen to music, to lay on the grass. Time to let her creative energy bubble up without a purpose. She bought a small block of clay and just started playing with it, with no intention of making anything beautiful or profound. She was reconnecting with the part of herself that creates for the sheer joy of it, not for the validation of it. This is the heart of reconnecting with your creative life force, your sacred feminine flow. I invite you to consider your own balance. How much of your day is spent in the masculine energy of doing, striving, and giving? And how much is spent in the feminine energy of being, feeling, and receiving? The practical application here is to schedule 5 minutes of sacred receiving into your day. This could be savoring your morning coffee without your phone. It could be listening to one song with your full attention. It could be standing outside and feeling the sun on your face. The goal is to do nothing but receive the experience. No multitasking, no guilt, just pure, open receptivity. You are signaling to the universe and to yourself that you are worthy of more than just what you can produce. You are worthy of pleasure, of peace, of simply being. This is a revolutionary act of self-worth healing. As Alara practiced this, something inside her began to shift. The tight coil of resentment in her stomach started to loosen. By filling her own cup, by allowing herself to receive pleasure and peace from the world around her, she became less dependent on Liam for her sense of well-being. This brings us to one of the most crucial and difficult aspects of this journey: boundaries. For a recovering people-pleaser, the word boundary can feel like a declaration of war. It can feel selfish, mean, or unloving. But a boundary is not a wall you build to keep people out. A boundary is the loving, conscious line you draw around yourself that says, "This is where I end and you begin. This is what is okay for me, and this is what is not." A boundary is not about controlling the other person's behavior. It's about honoring your own. A common misconception is that a boundary sounds like, "You need to stop doing that." A true, empowered boundary sounds like, "When X happens, I will do Y to take care of myself." For example, when you raise your voice, "I will leave the room until we can speak calmly." You are not telling them what to do. You are stating clearly and calmly what you will do to honor your own energy and safety. This is the integration of the divine masculine principle of protection. You are becoming your own safe harbor. You are parenting the wounded inner child who never felt protected. Alara's first boundary was terrifyingly small. Liam came home one evening, stressed from work, and immediately launched into a long, negative monologue while she was in the middle of sketching for the first time in months. The old Alara would have immediately put down her pencil, turned her full attention to him, and spent the next hour absorbing and soothing his stress. But the new Ilara, the one who had been listening to her resentment and honoring her needs, felt a clear, calm no rise up from her core. Her heart was pounding, her palms were sweating. She was terrified he would get angry, that he would see her as selfish and uncaring. But she took a breath and she honored that no. She didn't turn her back on him. She looked at him with love, but also with a newfound love for herself. She said, calmly and gently, "I can see you've had a really hard day, and I really want to hear about it. I'm just in the middle of something that feels important to me right now. Can you give me 30 minutes, and then you will have my undivided attention?" The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Liam looked surprised, confused even. He wasn't used to this. He was used to her being an open, available resource at all times. He hesitated, and for a moment Ilara thought he would push back. But then he just nodded. "Okay," he said. "Yeah, okay." And he left the room. Ilara's hands were shaking. But underneath the fear was a surge of something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Power. Not power over him, but her own inner peace power. The power to honor her own needs. The power to not abandon herself at the first sign of someone else's discomfort. It was a revolutionary moment. She had not been punished. The world had not ended. She had simply stated a need, drawn a line, and been respected. This tiny victory was a seed. And from that seed, a forest of self-respect began to grow. What is the small, terrifying boundary you need to set in your life? Perhaps it's saying no to a social invitation you don't have the energy for. Perhaps it's turning off your phone after 9 p.m. Perhaps it's asking for help when you're overwhelmed. The application is to identify one small, low-stakes boundary you can set this week. Write it down. Visualize yourself saying the words calmly and clearly. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Every time you honor a boundary, you are casting a vote for yourself. You are telling the universe that you are no longer available for relationships that require your self-abandonment. You are making space for a mindful intimacy, a connection based on honesty, respect, and the truth of who you both are. This journey of setting boundaries inevitably leads to a deeper question. What is the core wound that made it so hard to have boundaries in the first place? For Ilara, and for so many of us, it was a deep, subconscious belief that she was not inherently worthy of love. As a child, she had learned that love and approval were conditional. They were given when she was good, quiet, helpful, and accommodating. They were withdrawn when she was loud, needy, or expressed a contrary opinion. So she learned to perform for love. She became a human doing instead of a human being. Her kindness was not just a personality trait, it was her currency. It was what she paid to feel safe and secure in her connections. Losing this strategy felt like losing her identity. If I am not the kind, giving, helpful one, then who am I? And will that person be loved? This is the core fear. The fear that if we show up in our full, authentic, sometimes messy and inconvenient truth, we will be abandoned. This is where the real spiritual growth journey deepens. It requires us to find a source of worthiness that is not dependent on external validation. It requires us to cultivate an unshakable sense of self-love that becomes our true anchor. Ilara's self-worth healing was a process of reparenting herself. She began a practice of speaking to her inner child, the little girl who had learned she needed to be good to be loved. She would look in the mirror into her own eyes and say, "I am here. I will not abandon you. You don't have to do anything to earn my love. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to be imperfect. I love you exactly as you are." It felt foolish at first, but she persisted. She was building a new neural pathway in her brain, a pathway of self-compassion and unconditional self-acceptance. She began to celebrate her no's as much as her yeses. Every time she chose herself, every time she honored a need or a boundary, she would consciously pause and thank herself. She was learning to source her validation from within. This internal shift had a profound effect on her external reality. As her own sense of worth grew, she became less tolerant of being treated as anything less than worthy. Her energy shifted. The subtle signals she sent out to the world changed. She was no longer vibrating at the frequency of "please love me, I'll do anything." She was beginning to vibrate at the frequency of "I love myself, and I will only engage with those who can meet me at that level of respect." This is the ultimate transform your energy practice. It is not about pushing or forcing. It is about becoming. It is about tending to your own inner garden so fiercely and so lovingly that your own wholeness becomes a non-negotiable standard for anyone who wishes to enter your life. The work is not to change the other person. The work is to heal the part of you that was willing to tolerate being diminished. So the practical application for you is to begin a practice of inner validation. At the end of each day, write down one thing you did that day to honor yourself. It could be as small as drinking a glass of water when you were thirsty, or as big as saying no to an unreasonable request. Acknowledge yourself. Celebrate yourself. You are becoming your own source of love. You are building the foundation of a love that can never be taken from you, the love of your own sacred self. As Alara grew stronger in her own center, her relationship with Liam inevitably had to change. This is the part of the story that can be the most frightening. When one person in a system changes, the entire system is thrown into disequilibrium. Liam was accustomed to the old Alara. Her awakening was a disruption to the comfortable, unconscious contract they had been operating under. He became defensive at times. He accused her of being selfish, of changing. And he was right. She was changing. She was becoming more herself. This is the crucible. This is where the conscious relationship's work truly begins. A conscious relationship is not one without conflict. It is one where both individuals are committed to using the conflict as a catalyst for growth and deeper understanding. Alara had to learn to stay in her own center, even when Liam was upset. She had to learn the difference between his feeling disappointed and her being responsible for his feelings. This is a monumental shift for an empath. She had to learn to let him have his own emotional experience without rushing in to fix it. There was a pivotal conversation. It wasn't a fight. It was a moment of profound, terrifying honesty. She sat him down one evening, her heart full of both love and a new, unwavering loyalty to herself. She didn't blame him. She didn't list his faults. She spoke only from her own experience, using the power of I. "I love you," she began, her voice steady. "And for a long time I have been loving you in a way that has been profoundly unloving to myself. I have been silencing my own voice, abandoning my own needs, and hiding parts of myself because I was afraid they would be too much for you. I realize now that in doing so, I have not been showing you the real me, and I have built up a wall of resentment that is not fair to either of us. I am on a journey to come back home to myself. I am learning to honor my own energy, to speak my truth, and to fill my own cup. And I don't know what this means for us, but I know that I cannot continue to abandon myself. I want to be in a partnership where we are two whole people, not one person propping up the other. I want a soul-level love, and that has to start with me loving my own soul first." She had no idea how he would react. She was prepared for anger, for him to walk away. She had to be, because her commitment to herself was no longer conditional on his approval. This is the ultimate act of sovereignty. You release the outcome and you anchor into your own truth. Liam was silent for a long time. He did not get angry. He looked sad. He looked confused. And then he said something that surprised them both. "I don't want you to be gone," he said quietly. "I think I just got so used to you taking care of everything. I forgot to see if you were okay. I forgot to even ask." This was not an instant fix. It was the beginning of a new, more honest, and far more challenging chapter. It required him to become more conscious, to look at his own patterns of taking, and to learn how to show up in a new way. It required her to stay vigilant in honoring her boundaries, to keep speaking her truth even when it was uncomfortable, and to risk disappointing him in order to be true to herself. Some relationships do not survive this shift. When one person awakens, the other may choose to remain asleep, and the energetic gap becomes too wide to bridge. But some relationships transform. They burn down to the studs and are rebuilt on a foundation of honesty, authenticity, and mutual respect. The outcome of the relationship is not the point of the story. The victory was not in changing Liam. The victory was in Alara changing herself. The true transformation was her realization that she could survive the loss of the relationship, but she could no longer survive the loss of herself. She had finally found her still mind strong spirit. She had moved from a place of seeking love to a place of being love. Her art came back. It poured out of her no longer as something to be validated, but as a pure expression of her rediscovered soul. Her laughter returned, loud and uninhibited. She took up space in her home, in her life, in the world. She was no longer a ghost. She was the architect, the artist, and the queen of her own reality. Whether Liam was able to rise and meet her there or not, she was whole. The shadow of her kindness, the fear, the performance, the self-abandonment, had been integrated. Her kindness was now a genuine gift, offered freely from a full and sovereign heart, not a price she paid to exist. It was a conscious choice, not a compulsion. And this is the invitation for you, to look at the places where your kindness has become a form of self-betrayal, to have the courage to walk into that shadow, to listen to the whispers of your resentment, to reclaim your sacred no, and to begin the holy work of building your life around the unshakable foundation of your own self-worth. This is not selfish. It is the most generous thing you can do for the world, because the world does not need another martyr, another depleted giver, another ghost. The world needs you in your full, vibrant, authentic power. It needs your light, shining not to please others, but as a radiant, unapologetic expression of your own divine essence. This journey is not easy. It requires courage, commitment, and a willingness to be uncomfortable. But it is the most important journey you will ever take. It is the path back to the truth of who you are. The truth is, you were born worthy. You were born with a unique voice, a sacred energy, a divine purpose. You do not need to earn your place here. You are already home. Thank you for walking this path with me today. If Alara's story resonated with you, if you felt a stirring in your own heart, know that you are not alone. This is the collective awakening of our time, the journey from fear-based connection to love-based wholeness. We are a community of souls dedicated to this healing through awareness. I would be honored to hear about your own journey in the comments below. What is one small step you can take this week to honor yourself, to reclaim a piece of your own sacred ground? Your story, your vulnerability, could be the permission slip that someone else needs to begin their own journey home. And if you wish to continue this deep dive into conscious relationships and the alchemy of the soul, be sure to subscribe and join our growing community. Our next conversation will explore the powerful concept of energetic cords in relationships and how to lovingly release the connections that no longer serve your highest growth. You won't want to miss it. Until then, be kind to others, but let that kindness be an overflow of the radical, unapologetic, and unconditional kindness you first offer to yourself. Your heart is not a commodity to be traded for approval. It is a sacred altar. Treat it as such.